Okay, welcome to video 10. According to the table of contents I showed in video 1, you should be aware that there are only 15 videos, of which video 9 was going to cover tables and lists. Video 9 dealt with tables, and I felt that it was necessary to separate lists from there, A, because tables deserve the video to themselves, and B, so do lists. So there will be more videos, but this is video 10 on lists. Now, a list is given on the left hand side. You can see the HTML for that, and on the right hand side you can see the result of that code. Really simply, I don't believe I now have to mention HTML and HTML, body and end body. You're aware of those. That's the list element. And what you can see there is that I've got UL and end UL. That defines the whole element. UL is short for unordered list. That means that the items, the list items in here, will be unordered. It means that basically, though I've got 6 items here, there's no importance to the first item above the 6th item. They're all as important to each other. It's just a jumble of terms. It might be a list of things you need to get done, but not in any priority. So an unordered list is exactly what its name suggests, is there is no order to the list at all. So it's really simple to define. Basically, you tell the computer you want to do an unordered list, and then between them you put the list items. List items defined by li and end li. That's the whole list element given to you there. So that produces this list here, and that's it. That's the lists. Now obviously there's other things you can do to these. For example, one of the ones you can do is do that. The type. You can see it's a right attribute because it's given there. What does that do? It changes the bullet points. The trouble is, this is what they call a deprecated item. That means that it is now no longer something you should use. HTML5 will recognize it, HTML4 is fine with it, but it's been deprecated. That means it's going out of fashion. You should use CSS. And there is a whole list of CSS items that exist with this. For example, if you wished to use the different CSS item, then you would use the style command. And I'm going to have a quick check. Now I'm going to go to my popular site that I keep mentioning to you and just refer to the site here. I've already gone to the unordered list site, and I can see that there, for example, is the one that I was using. And all I'm going to do is copy and put that into my code. And all I've got to do is stick that into there and paste. Now again, as I said before, you can see it's much longer than type equals circle. So there's a statement to say, well, why do all that? Because you should separate CSS and HTML. You should learn the one for design, the other one for content, and you really do need to get your head around that, because CSS is so powerful once you get your head around it. So no change. I wouldn't expect a change. Make sure I save that, Control S, go back to there, press F5, no change, wouldn't expect it. I've chosen circle. If I decide to change that to square, then the CSS will just work just as the old HTML worked. It just works really simply. There aren't many other things that you can do with lists. Well, that's not quite true, but we'll have a look at other things in a moment. So let me go back to the original, save that, and open this one up. What's the alternative to an unordered list? Well, clearly, if there's an unordered list, there must be an ordered list. OL for ordered list. Ordered lists are completely the opposite, in that there is importance applied, and that importance is given by the numbers. So you've got 2 types of lists, ordered and unordered. You need to decide which one you're using, and the reason why you're using it is there an important order to the list or is there not? And therefore ordered list, unordered list. The other thing worth noting with here, and it was killed off in HTML5, is the command start. And you can type this in. So I've put start in, and it starts my list at that point. Now that actually is quite useful. In fact, it's incredibly useful at certain times where you've got a broken list and you want to start it onto the next number. It does give you control, but I did say to you it was killed off. In HTML 4.01 they killed off the start command. Well, interestingly enough, they reintroduced it into HTML5. So the start command is back in fashion, and that is a really good thing because it is an easy one. It is about styling, but only just about. There is type, and obviously we have the start Oops, let's type the right thing. The style command still exists here. We use the style rather than using type, and we can see that we've got a number of ways of changing the way these are formatted. So let's have a look at the code. Let's stick that into the style, save that, and run this. So I can really change the way these look. There isn't much more to do with starter lists, ordered or unordered, but there are lots of things you can do with these, and I'd like to refer to another website which is really useful. The first thing is, I keep telling you about W3 Schools. Really do get used to it. This is the CSS. The structure looks a bit confusing. Generally, they won't appreciate me saying this, but generally ignore the top bar on the left hand side, the right hand side. That's all advertising. The menus on the side here and what's going on in the center. You will find advertising suddenly appearing in the middle, things like this, or right near the base, but do search through it. As you go through, you start to find out what's there and what's not. So again, that's incredibly useful. I use W3 Schools. I recommend it, not because I'm getting anything from it, but because the group who decides what goes on in the web also run W3 Schools. So the consortium, W3C, the people who decide HTML doesn't happen by accident, CSS doesn't. All of these languages have to be agreed upon, and it's W3C who agree that, and it's W3 Schools that then put the information out there. So it's really useful. You're getting to the people who actually just make the decisions about the structure. But as regards lists, I've got to recommend this site. It's called A List Apart, and it's many years ago I came across it when I was trying to do a navigation menu. You can actually use lists in a very effective way using things like, there's some more CSS hidden in there. We haven't looked at it in this structure, but it does exist, and it gets much more complex. But this gives you a very, very effective menu system, a drop-down menu system. They don't give you an example on here that I've seen, but it gives you a drop-down menu. And many years ago, it was a list apart that showed many website designers how to create menus using just CSS and HTML, getting away from the need to learn JavaScript and hope that the user is using JavaScript. So this is a really good site. It's grown beyond all expectations. It is recognized as a very, very good site when you're coming to make websites. So another one to introduce you to. All in all, actually nice, short, sweet little element, the OL and the UL. Have a go at it. Hopefully that's been useful. Talk to you next video.